Gosh, that was very orderly. Didn't need to call people to order at all. Well, this is fun. This is absolutely the first time I have seen the lecture theatre so packed. Of course, that's true post-COVID, but I think that's true more generally. Really delighted that everyone has been able to come along this evening. And I know also that we have quite literally hundreds and hundreds of viewers online too. So a very warm welcome to all of you in the room and to our viewers online. Just a bit of housekeeping business for those of you in the room. We are not anticipating a fire drill. If you do hear the fire alarms, please exit through the doors, come out of the building through the entrance that you came in and turn left along Birdcage Walk until you get to cockpit steps, and that's the muster point for us, although I'm sure we won't be interrupted this evening. So, it's now my great delight to introduce and tell you a little bit about Giles Hartill, our 138th President. It's quite a lot to say. I'll start at the beginning. Giles joined IMechE as a young member in 1999, gaining a BEng in Mechanical Engineering from University College London in 2002. He's worked in the UK defence industry since 2003 at AWE PLC, where he is currently Chief Technologist. Quite a big role too. And I have to say, you know, I've just been picking up on bits and bobs of social media today, and it has been absolutely wonderful to see all of the kudos and support from AWE for Giles on his appointment. It's really fantastic to see the recognition of the value that the institution provides for their employees, and of course their support personally to Giles. So it's been really wonderful to see that. He's been volunteering continuously for IMechE since 2004, focusing on supporting career development for members and promoting STEM to schools via various initiatives. And I think that focus on STEM support, education in the round, but also career development, continuing professional development, lifelong learning, is a real feature that really leaps out at you from Giles's bio, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about it in the presentation this evening. Giles started as publicity officer, promoting activities and events to young members in the Greater London region, was then elected to the London Young Member panel as panel chairman, where he greatly expanded the size and diversity of the panel, and he was recognised for that in winning the Young Member Panel of the Year award. And following this, he represented young members in IMechE's Young Members Board, Council, and Trustee Board. And so we go on. So in 2008, Giles obtained an MSc in Industrial Materials from Loughborough and became a chartered engineer the same year. Again, what you hear is Giles really modelling that lifelong learning. He came IMechE Fellow in 2014 and was elected the London Region Chairman, as well as representing members on Council and Regional Strategy Board. So he's been around a few committees. And still it goes on. Giles served as a trustee and vice president in 2016 to 2017, and during this time he sponsored the setup of our digital transformation programme, as well as serving on the audit and risk committee. He was elected as vice president in 2018, initially chairing the education and skills strategy board, so that link back to education coming through, and provided leadership to the profession and society at large by facilitating the inspiration and retention of young people in engineering. Giles was a member of the team that delivered the 2019 governance review, and I can see there's a few members of that team in the audience tonight. Thank you again for that Herculean effort. He was subsequently a member of the implementation group responsible for actioning the review recommendations. And you know, I know from working with Giles over these last couple of years that having our core governance at the heart of everything we do really strengthened is really important to Giles. It's really one of his values, so he really lives that. In May 2021, Giles was honoured to become the chair of IMechE's new strategy committee. Well, we're going to hear about that tonight, aren't we? Responsible for developing long-term vision and leading strategic planning activities. And I think it's absolutely delightful that due to Giles's tremendous energy, we've really been able to bring the fruition of many, many members' efforts in that strategy committee and supported by the council to get the strategy over the line tonight that we're all so looking forward to hearing about. Following his election to Deputy President in May 22, he also supported the Nominations Committee and its important work opening up volunteering opportunities and supporting the improvement of diversity and inclusion across the IMechE, which remains something that is very, very important to us. So quite the introduction. You won't be hearing very much more from me, but with that introduction, I am delighted to welcome Giles to the podium.
So, good evening, everyone. There's going to be a few surprises, just to say. Firstly, that the first surprise was that music playing as I came in. You won't be aware, but it was the music that my daughter Ruth, who's in the audience, composed, and that was the first public performance of her first composition. That she actually did in her music technology club at school. That is what kids are doing at this age, which is tremendous to see. There'll be a few others along the way, so watch out for those. So I'm very proud and honoured to be here before you in this wonderful lecture theatre as IMechE's 138th President. A very warm welcome to you all here at our One Birdcage Walk headquarters in London, the city that I was born and have lived in my whole life. And to the hundreds of people that are joining us online all over the world across many different time zones. So I took the time to read about our long and fascinating history. Past President Andrew Ives recommended a book that we commissioned as part of our 150th anniversary back in 1997, written by John Pullin, and I was struck by the foreword, which you can see here, written by the then Prince of Wales and now obviously His Majesty King Charles III, who is also an honorary fellow of IMechE. And if you'll indulge me just a moment, I quote, "Progress is the very spirit of engineering, and mechanical engineers of the past have been responsible for innovations that have transformed standards of living and ways of life throughout the world. But today's increasing pace of technological change puts even greater pressure on the problem-solving and innovative capabilities of mechanical engineers. Developments in agriculture and medicine and the ethical considerations they raise, the need to conserve the Earth's natural resources and to reverse the damage done by overexploitation all present tremendous challenges. The demand for engineering innovation and indeed appropriateness is perhaps greater than ever before." Well, how right he was then and how true those words still are today. So last year we celebrated our 175th anniversary, during which we announced our high-level principles to guide our strategy. And so our mission, our vision, and our strategic goals. And since then, we've worked tirelessly to develop the detail behind that. And I'm proud to be here today to launch our new strategy. Today really is a momentous day. It is the dawn of a new beginning. I will lay out tonight what we aspire to achieve, how we plan to achieve it, and also importantly, most importantly to me, why. It's our vision of how the IMechE is going to be transformed into a digital and inclusive, global, inclusive and digitally enabled engineering community, so we can deliver our mission of improving the world through engineering. I'll also talk about what inspired me to become an engineer in the first place, why I found volunteering for this place so fascinating and so rewarding over so many years. And really discuss how you all, there's so many people here that are members, staff, etc., that have contributed to this strategy, and how you can get involved in helping us to engage more widely with it. So the next slide's a slight apology in advance to my brother Andy. Where is Andy here yet? He's not here yet, is he? I don't think he's here. Oh, that's all right. We don't have to apologise. He said he might be slightly late. So when Andy walks in, we can all like wave and smile at him. Yeah. So it's not a great photo, is it, of the two of us? I think that's around the right age. So this is going back when I was 12 years old. I don't know quite whether we're trying to look cool or we're just grumpy. I think we're just grumpy, although I think Andy is holding something that resembles like the Daily Telegraph or the sports section there. So it's, maybe highbrow, more highbrow than, something else, let's put it that way. The reason for this photo is to tell you a bit of a story about when I was first inspired about engineering. Thinking back, I think every technician engineer has some sort of story to tell about this. When I was 12 years old, so thinking back in your minds to 1994, so to kind of frame that, it was the year that Senna died at Imola and all the other tragic events that year. I found myself watching Saturday morning television one morning, and there used to be this program on ITV called What's Up Doc, which was hosted at the time by Andy Crane, Yvette Fielding and Pat Sharp. Now, in those days, computer games, I played a lot of computer games and spent hours and hours with friends doing it, and some of them are actually here tonight, which is brilliant to see. And on this program, they had this phoning competition called Joe Raz, where contestants played a computer game with their kind of modern touch-tone phone, or modern in those days anyway. So I phoned up and entered, and the next thing I knew, I was minutes from appearing on live television with none other than Rick Alessi of Neighbours fame, the Australian soap, played by Darren Falzon, as my celebrity mentor. Now, some people know about this story, but what people don't know is that I've actually found the video of the incident.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, anyway, as I was saying, team captains. So you need to meet your player. Certainly. And his name is Giles. Hello, Giles.
Hi.
Hi, where are you calling from?
Sheen, London.
Sheen, I know it well. What's the weather like?
It's okay.
Sunny, because we're back down there lately, so I want to know what the weather's like. What sort of system do you have at home, Giles?
Super NES.
Yeah, what's your favourite game?
Super Mario Kart.
Super Mario Kart. I was playing that. Which player do you use?
Toad.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
We'll guide you through it as quickly as we can. Best of luck. Let's play, Joe. Press 5. Get him up again. Quick. Right, 5. That's the way. 15 seconds left. 5.
Here we go.
Okay, that's your bonus achieved. Well done. 10 seconds. Just keep going now, because you get points for every time you go over. You tripped again. 5. 5. Press 5. It'll have you. 5. And there we go. That's time up. Well done, Giles. Let's have a look at your final score. The Berry Collection, 600 points. Avoiding Stegosaurus, 600 points. Logs, 700 points. One bonus of 500 points, giving you a grand total of 2,400 points. Well done, Giles.
So that was actually the heat, which I did pretty well in. And the problem at this point is that my home phone started to go absolutely bananas because everyone started ringing up saying, I've seen you on TV, I've seen you on TV. So I had to keep telling them to get off the phone because obviously the studio was due to ring me back to then play the final. So after what felt like absolutely ages, they did phone me back and I was ready to play the final. I did actually get a perfect score in the process, I would add. So let's see what happens.
Okay, ready for the dematerializer. Here we go. When the numbers appear, don't press anything till I tell you, Giles. Press 4, 5, or 6 now. What's he picked? He's picked 5. Now, if 5's the right one, Giles is going on Concorde. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes! That's it! Well done, Giles. Congratulations. There
Those are the actual
Don't throw them
tickets.
away.
Oh, sorry.
Now, come on, don't throw them away.
What a prize, eh?
David Gladwin Concord, thank you for these. They're there. Have you ever been on Concord?
No, I haven't, never.
I'm very surprised. I thought if one person on the programme would have been on Concord, it would have been you. Giles, are you pleased?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right, well, there are two, so you're going to become very popular, I would have thought, in your area of town just at the moment. Any ideas who you'll take with you?
Either my mum or dad, or my dad.
Your mum or your... Well, that's not nice.
That's nice, yeah.
No, your mum be dead. Enjoy the flight and let us know how you got on. Many, many congratulations. Your
Thanks,
first
buddy.
winner on What's Up... Congratulations,
Thanks.
Giles. Well done.
So there I was, having won 2 tickets on Concorde. Now, despite not paying or asking the bill payer's permission, as you're supposed to do, and having said that I'd take one of my parents who are here this evening at the front, you'd think that that would have been adequate recompense, but actually instead I did take my brother Andy. So yeah, that's a much nicer photo of the two of us, isn't it? You can definitely tell we were 80s kids, can't you? So it wasn't immediately obvious at the time when I'd won the tickets that they weren't actually for New York, but Glasgow and back. Now, this of course meant that we couldn't go supersonic over land, but we did get there in well under an hour, which is pretty impressive. And in front of us on the runway at Heathrow, there was another Concorde ready to take off to JFK. And our captain did this odd thing. He turned our plane perpendicular to the runway. And what that meant, of course, was that we could see out of our passenger windows and see the Concorde in front, ready to take off. So it was not immediately obvious like why he was doing this. But then it did become obvious because the whole plane literally started to shake so violently. Like our bodies, like the seats, the whole thing. And then you saw the jet engines, the flames from the Olympus engines, with the afterburners kicking in. It was really quite the party trick. But the best was yet to come because we then obviously, the pilot turned our plane back round and takeoff was just the most amazing thing on that plane. We were ready to go and then all of a sudden, the G-force kicked in. And it was so severe you couldn't even lift your arms off the rests. Like that's how severe the G-force was. It was an incredible experience and a remarkable plane of its time, and really showed me what engineering is all about. So from there, I progressed through university, through school rather. Ended up doing the same A-levels as my dad, maths, physics, and geography. And with my mum being a primary school maths specialist, it was hardly surprising. I found myself in the school library one day, wondering what to do, researching on what was the early internet back then, and looking at becoming an engineer. And I think actually at the time it said something about being an industrial designer, and I didn't really know what that was at that point. So having decided that mechanical engineering were offered the widest multidisciplinary opportunity for career progression, I ended up at UCL. To their absolute credit, the IMechE's membership department representative was there during Freshers' Week, ready to sign us all up, offering support, collaboration, and a route to professional registration. And I'm pleased to see to this day the work of Jo Horton and her team continues to excel in acquiring thousands of members every year. So after university, I was fortunate to be offered a graduate placement at AWE, the Atomic Weapons Establishment at Aldermaston. It wasn't a difficult decision for me, with the prospect of exciting and interesting work. AWE is responsible for the research and development, the manufacture and in-service support of warhead systems for the UK's strategic nuclear deterrent, including space technology, computing, code development, advanced manufacturing, explosives, radioactive materials, and high-hazard design, facility design and construction. There are so many singular things that AWE does, protecting the UK and our NATO allies every hour of every day. Although given security restrictions, I didn't really know much about what I was going to be doing initially, but I was really lucky to land in a systems engineering department with a bunch of other graduates and have Really quite a remarkable team of senior engineers around me that trained and supported us in a culture of continual learning and development. And there are some here tonight, which I'm really thankful for your support. Including sponsoring my part-time MSc in Industrial Materials at Loughborough University. And to this day, AWE and other nuclear defence enterprise partners remain hugely supportive employers that see the value in developing talent, recognising science, engineering and business excellence, including professional registration. As is the case in the wider defence industry and armed forces, not only in the UK but internationally as well. Many of those whose technicians and engineers are valuable members of IMechE. It is obviously a little bit difficult to talk about in great detail what I've achieved and accomplished technically in my career. However, two of the things that I'm probably most proud of are as Design Authority Trident, I led the latter stages of the design, the qualification, assessment and approval submission for what's called the Mark IV to Mark IVA modification of the current in-service warhead system to ensure the UK has a safe, secure and available stockpile. And secondly, when I was Chief Warhead Engineer, I worked very closely with the Ministry of Defence and US agencies in the assessment and the establishment of the UK's replacement warhead programme, which is currently in its concept phase. I'm very proud of the contribution I have made towards maintaining the UK's continuous at sea deterrence over the past 20 years, and look forward to continuing this in my recent appointment of Chief Technologist. Responsibility for that includes technology improvements, providing direction on R&D, experimentation, and also turning those early investments into capital projects. So in parallel with my defence career, my other career, as it were, has been volunteering for this place. So I remember turning up, as Alice said, to my first Young Members panel meeting here in London, as if it was yesterday. At the time, it consisted of a small band of MW Kellogg engineers, oil and gas engineers, and I was welcomed in and quickly became useful as their publicity officer. From there, I became chairman, during which time we did win the Young Members Panel of the Year award in 2008, and I represented young members on council and trustee boards. I'll just click back a minute. Volunteering has been a fantastically rewarding experience for me. When I started, it was really inspiring to be able to engage across academia and industry, like outside of work. Because of the security environment, I found that so valuable. And through my many volunteering roles, I really learnt a multitude of management skills. Essentially, I learnt to become a leader at IMechE. And I like to think that I put that into good practice at AWE. I've met so many supportive people during my time volunteering, and at the heart of it all has been a strong member and employee collaborative approach. My volunteering journey really shows how IMechE invests in its people, most recently recognised by our achievement of the Gold Investor and People Award, and I hope soon we can extend that and achieve the equivalent Volunteer Sector Award. I hope, as President, I can bring my 20 years or so of experience as a volunteer to continue to the transformation of IMechE and making it fit and ready for the future. So on to a bit about the strategy process we followed. So very sort of standard stuff in some ways. Understand your strategic environment, develop your strategy, implement, and then evaluate. And what I'm trying to show here is that, you know, for the last 2-3 years, we've been in the left-hand side of the diagram. So we've been doing huge amounts of analysis, both internally and externally, understanding that strategic environment and developing our strategy. And having gone through lots of engagement as far as we could do within that timescale, we have essentially got to today, which is the tipping point between development into implementation. So today really is a big day for the institution. So I'm going to talk a bit about that process. So I was elected to the trustee board in 2018 as vice president, and one of my responsibilities at the time was to do a thorough review of our governance arrangements, including the principles on which the organisation is run and the structures that we need to maintain adequate control and oversight, especially for a large charity such as ours. Some may recall that at the time there was quite a lot of debate about our role, particularly about the purpose as a charity, and concern about a perceived lack of strategic direction. The review highlighted that having a clear strategy is important to any organisation's success, and developing that strategy is a core accountability of our trustee board. IMechE must be able to articulate that strategy to members, employees and external stakeholders if it is to stay effective in a world that is seeing the pace of change accelerate. So I'm very indebted to the strategy committee that I chaired for the last 2 years, and here you can see the committee. It was set up in early 2021, comprising of members selected for their strategy experience, and also Alice, our CEO, and Sean Fox, our Finance and Commercial Director. It is ably, or has been ably supported and continues to be, by the wider executive, the staff, team, volunteer members, and especially our council and their strategy subgroup. Whilst this address is the launch of the new strategy, obviously, I need to say at this point that strategy isn't something that you kind of do for a period and publish and put down, nor am I able to go through all of the technical detail within that strategy in this brief address tonight. I sort of think about this as a sort of almost like a policy launch. You know, you get the summary and then it will get followed up over time throughout the year, and that is our intent. So we're going to build on this content. We launched on the website today, and you'll see more of that throughout the year. But it is a constantly evolving endeavour, and we've got much work to do to continue to engage and consult far and wide on the strategy, making sure we align our organisation and our business plan to it. So I'm now going to go into a bit of detail and explain as much as I can about the key points this evening. So our mission is improving the world through engineering. Now, hopefully many of you are familiar with those words. We've had that tagline for a while, but maybe what you might not have realised is that actually used to be our vision, and we felt that it was important to clarify that this is our purpose and it's our reason for being, it's our reason for existing as an organisation. And one of the interesting things I've learned throughout this time, this process, is that no matter how straightforward or crafted you think a set of words are, when other people read them, and we've had lots of other people read them as part of our engagement, you really understand how people can take on a different meaning or interpretation for the same set of words in so many different ways. And I think that sort of diversity of thought that's come into that has been really powerful. So I offer the following description, which I sort of call the intent behind the words of what we think this means. So by improving, we mean continuously upgrading the safety, reliability, sustainability, performance, etc. of the world that we engineer. By the world, we mean obviously the planet, but including all its inhabitants, but not just humanity. You know, we are the custodians of all living things on this planet now, so we really mean it in that context. And by engineering, we mean it in its broadest and inclusive, most inclusive sense. So not just mechanical, because we've known for decades now that engineering is a multidisciplinary activity. So, onto our vision. So, like I said earlier, our vision is to be global, inclusive and digitally enabled engineering community. We aspire to be a genuinely international organisation, not just a UK-based charity with overseas members. We will do this through the development of international partnerships, so we build communities of technicians and engineers across the world who can move easily to work through reciprocal recognition of standards and accreditation. I like to think of it as a global engineering passport. Our vision is underpinned by our culture and defined by 4 values: inclusion, integrity, innovation and impact. We are committed to creating an inclusive culture where all our members and employees know they belong, feel valued and can thrive working in close partnership. We want to ensure IMechE and the wider engineering profession is welcoming to all people with the right skills and knowledge regardless of background. Technicians and engineers are best placed to find solutions to the major challenges we face, such as climate change and global pandemics. And there is much to be gained from the transfer of innovations and skills across different sectors. Solving these challenges requires the right mix of people, both physical and cognitive diversity, and recognising and supporting the wide range of neurodiversity that is actually quite common across STEM, to give rise to the innovation that we all need to see. There is huge opportunity within our existing as well as untapped talent pools, especially when you consider the increased frequency of reskilling required throughout our careers, due to the ever-increasing pace of change in technological advancement. This is as important as inspiring the next generation to pursue a career in engineering. And if we are to succeed, we must become digital first. The pandemic brought a huge change in focus and enabled global attendance at many of our events. We now want to deliver all our services in a digitally enabled way to support our global ambitions, and are in the development phase for several projects and will be rolling these out, including new services to members over the coming years. So we now have two very clear strategic goals. Our first is to develop, register and support our members to be at their best to achieve a more inclusive and sustainable world. It is about ensuring we focus our efforts not only on acquiring new members and helping them become professionally registered, but also maintaining that support, that value throughout their lives. Our second goal is to then maximise the impact of our members to promote engineering, inform opinion and stimulate innovation for society. I think of it this way. If goal number one is about helping our members to be great engineers and technicians, then goal number two is then about harnessing that expertise, the expertise of our members and the skills that they have to improve the world through engineering. So, membership development. IMechE was founded to set standards for innovation in training, development and support technicians and engineers. Engineering practice is evolving with technological advancement, interdisciplinary working, now expected norms. Our standards and ethics need to reflect these changes. And our offer needs to support our members who are working in a more collegiate, globalised and digital world. Value to members is at the heart of membership development. We've got over 110,000 members worldwide, and we want to harness the power of that engineering community. We would like to encourage greater engagement by members in supporting each other and developing and promoting engineering. We effectively want members to be force multipliers. With members in over 140 countries, we've got a great opportunity to create an integrated network of technicians and engineers across the globe. Bringing our members together in closer partnership internationally will be a real game changer. To do this, we need to support our members to learn, work and share their knowledge and expertise with each other. Our learning and development services will be aligned to support our members throughout their lifelong learning journey and be tailored to suit the needs of the individual and their continuous professional development. This will enable and ensure that we have high-quality practicing technicians and engineers as well as leaders in a wide range of engineering fields. We plan to open up our membership database to offer members the ability to record the expertise they possess and actively promote opportunities to members to get involved in learning and development activities. Going forward, we need to ensure that our standards define and lead global best practice and that our membership and registration routes reflect the diversity of ways that technicians and engineers enter the profession. To do this, we need to look to collaborate with other organisations to develop and implement engineering standards and accreditation programmes, maximising the global status of IMechE. So, on to impact. So our second strategic goal is to maximise the positive impact of our members to promote engineering, inform opinion and stimulate innovation for the benefit of society. So we are fortunate to have a strong brand. We're known widely and recognised as a world-leading authority on engineering and innovation, but what do we actually mean by impact? So we want to be the first point of reference for policymakers across industry, government and society when impartial technical advice is considered essential in forming opinion. Whether that's at a national level, at an international level, regional, local, we have to be in a space where we expand our global reach and will create the capability for our members to proactively engage with government officials and industry leaders to promote our ideas to key decision makers and provide that ongoing technical advice. But we also want to have a measurable impact. The public perception, discussion and decisions relating to engineering and its effect on society. And we'd really like to have that wide reach and high level of engagement with our reports and events related to our 4 key policy areas, which are climate change and sustainability, the future of transport and mobility, healthcare and infectious disease control, and obviously education and skills. High quality and engaging outreach events are key to our success and impact. So I'm sure that many of you will be aware or have probably even taken part in our challenge competitions that we hold. including Formula Student, our flagship event. And they really are going from strength to strength. So last year, to give you some stats, we had 190 teams from 27 countries supported by 400 member volunteers. I mean, it is really, truly amazing what we achieved together. And the success of the impact strategy will depend in large part on the continuation of that public engagement. We will organise purposeful events which amplify and drive engagement with our policy and technical priorities, whilst providing opportunities for our members to shape the public debate of engineering. Through an effective communication strategy, we seek to promote the achievements of our members, get our policy outputs in front of key decision makers, and generally raise the profile of IMechE and the engineering community in governments, the media, and wider society. The voice of engineering should be heard more widely in the media, by governments, and by our key external stakeholders. We should be the go-to place for comment on issues on an engineering perspective and drive the agenda with our policy work and priorities. By using the convening power of IMechE, we want to bring together engineering companies and organisations which aspire to work together on leading technology, innovation and critical strategic issues. As well as purely technical events, the programme will include a wide range of activities designed to promote the policy and outreach work of IMechE to influential stakeholders. We now aspire for this to be on a global scale rather than just a UK-specific scale. To do this will require the development of a network of international organisations and partners to utilise existing opportunities to collaborate and drive engagement. So those are our strategic goals, and we like to think that if those are the driving force behind the direction of travel that we are going on as an organisation, we then have a number of strategic enablers, which actually, when you look at all of those, I would have been here all night talking about them. So I picked the two most important ones as far as we're concerned, which is firstly people and culture, and then I'll get on to talk about digital first. So earlier I mentioned that we aim to be an inclusive, welcoming organisation where we want people to be able to feel and belong and thrive. We are working to embed inclusion at the heart of everything that we do, and we now have a diversity and inclusion action plan which we rolled out in January this year. This will enable us to ensure our services are built with accessibility in mind, that our communications are inclusive, and that we remove systematic barriers where they exist. Two of the most important things that I think we need as part of that journey are an open, collaborative and inclusive culture, but also fundamentally to me, which you'll see a theme throughout this, is all about well-supported and engaged members and employees working in close partnership. Many studies have shown that having more diversity can help people work more effectively together and reach creative solutions. It's not about reducing opportunities, but rather expanding the range of people involved in IMechE and the broader engineering profession. One area of importance to me is to expand our pool of volunteers. I would like to see many more people joining our boards and committees and working groups, especially if they've never volunteered before. And a few years ago, we refreshed our nominations committee, and I'm really pleased to see that thrive, starting to bring new people into the organisation, new members into the volunteering side that have actually never volunteered before. We recognise that real change doesn't happen overnight, and there's still a long way to go. Some of the things that we've done to achieve our ambition of embedding inclusion at the heart of everything we do include the following. So we've appointed a D&I officer, Christina Corsax, who's here tonight, to support the delivery of our strategy. So thank you, Christina. We're seeking to expand our volunteer outreach programme to include underserved regions and underrepresented groups. One recent focus has been increasing the diversity of our STEM ambassador volunteers to make sure that we really reflect the communities that we're operating in. That's really important. We now also have a D&I learning programme, and one of the best things about that is it's really the first time I think that we've had members and member volunteers and staff working in the same training programme together, and you would not believe the feedback, and I know there are people in the room that have been on it. The one resounding thing that I think I've heard from everyone is just how great it's been to do that together. So that for us is like a real game changer going forwards, and we are absolutely going to be doing more of that. We also have now a resource hub which is available online to all our members and staff. We've established partnership with the Association of Black and Minority Engineers, which aims to promote diversity and look for ways to encourage more black and ethnic minority students to consider engineering as a career. And we hope to follow that up with further partnerships in the coming months. And we also recently conducted a survey where we got about 600 respondents, and it was really all about benchmarking where we are as an organisation. And we're still analysing the data, but I think really when you look at the initial findings, it really shows that we're on the right track, which gives us confidence that we're doing the right thing. It did highlight some improvements, particularly around accessibility of information, transparency and communications, and we're addressing those. And finally, we're launching a Culture Ambassador Network, our first member and employee-led network, and we are really hopeful that these ambassador leads, which we'll be announcing soon, we look forward to what they can achieve together. The ambassadors will be the voice of our member and employee community. All of the above is really about a cultural transformation journey. The world is changing at such a lightning pace, and we want to ensure that we are looking into the future and we're ready to meet the expectations of our members, leveraging the collective expertise, skills, knowledge for the benefit of each other and society. So, digital first. This has been quite a passion of mine for quite a long time. I do quite a lot of this in my day job, and you would not believe like how important this is for us to get this right. If we're going to become truly global as an organisation, there cannot be a more fundamental thing than this, especially around being organised, and I really mean the organised word. This might be difficult to hear for some, but I really want to be honest, like we've got some fairly serious backroom capability issues, like with outdated IT infrastructure, and we've got quite complex systems and databases of information management that have evolved over many years. The functionality of our systems and services is okay. We think we're behind our peer organisations. Our website, although it's got pretty good features on it, we know that it's missing the mark with our members and it is unreliable. For too long, I've found myself saying that our members and employees essentially have been operating with one arm behind their back. And so we've been on this journey. Jake Fraser, our Chief Technology Officer, and IMechE fellow Matt Marsden have been leading our digital working group. And this is really where they started to understand what we call or a lot of people call the as-is state, right, across the organisation, particularly around our beneficiary experience. So, how people that take value from us as a charity, how they experience it, as well as how the employees and the backroom capabilities experience it. And that includes going through all the internal business processes. So we've been on this journey of benchmarking where we are currently, and we're taking inputs from member surveys, staff, volunteer groups, and we're now at the stage where we're starting to understand the to-be state. And that's going to set us in a direction of understanding what capabilities we need in the future, and then obviously then how we go about acquiring those. So a little bit about the detail on some of these boxes. So the first thing on the top left is all really about data. So getting a unified data platform which enables that digital first operating model is really key. The modern approach, which many people follow now, is about getting a unifying platform that integrates the data and capabilities across multiple solutions. Creating a holistic home for data creates massive opportunities for reporting and analytics and reduces effort when adding, upgrading or replacing systems. Essentially what this does is enable us to be completely modular in the long term. So IMechE is a multifaceted and complex organisation, which can be difficult for our stakeholders to navigate. Those that aren't so familiar with IMechE are kind of forced to interact with the content around our departmental and governance structures, which isn't how you design digital, basically. So there are some significant barriers, and we are absolutely committed to making sure that we design that enterprise architecture going forwards in a way that is directed around both the way the staff use the systems and as well as our members interacting with them. So for IMechE's value propositions to be accessible and relevant, all of the published content that we have and the solutions must be beneficiary-centric. This means developing an understanding, a deep understanding of what our beneficiaries actually want, so that basically anyone interacting with us will find value in the content and services quickly and easily. That's what this is about. And finally, technology solutions must be hosted appropriately. And that is really important for supporting our global accessibility needs. There's been, I think, a general feeling for a number of years where, difficult to describe, like where members, I find a lot of members that I talk to will say they wish we had this capability. And actually, you kind of go and look, and sometimes we do have that capability. Like quite a big thing for us to get over is the communication of what we actually already offer, as well as the stuff that we're going to provide in addition. And for many, I find that being a member of the IMechE is kind of limited to, well, obviously professional registration. You kind of, if you're aiming for that, you have to be a member. We have a professional engineering magazine that many members read. They might use our library service. They might go to 1 or 2 events per year. That's probably broadly what most members, that 110,000 members, interact with. Obviously, there's a smaller proportion of volunteer members that do a huge amount for this place. But most members, that's the kind of general vibe of what they will experience. And really, this is where there's quite a big change in our minds about where we go and how we are going to be different in the future. Because when I see volunteer members do, say, technical talks, the members or the people attending that event at that point in time are getting that value. But what if all of that member-generated content was digitally captured and made available, catalogued and accessible on a global basis whenever anyone wants it? So a lunchtime lecture on the latest in fusion energy in the US, or say, I don't know, green hydrogen energy or green hydrogen usage in Japan. Imagine basically you could watch that whenever you wanted. You could then receive automatic credit for it, so it gets automatically logged on your CPD record. And essentially what it boils down to is we want to make it easy for our members to learn and develop. That is fundamentally what we're here to do. We are an education organisation. If you think about it, if you take the early part of most people's lives, through school, their college or university or any other route into higher education, you then get into the working world, and there's all this focus up to that point. And then who takes over from there? Well, we do. That's our responsibility. Like, that's what professional engineering institutions are for, or any other, professional institution for any other profession. So that is really one of the things that we think will change the game. So on this slide here, this is just a brief introduction. So a lot of what I've talked about, we will go through during the year, and we will expand on the content and roll it out. So the key thing to remember as well is that this isn't just something that we are doing once. We've put the structures in place to ensure that this happens constantly going forwards. Some of the things we've done in the past around strategy, they worked for a bit, and then we stopped, and then we started again. This now describes the structure of what we put in place. So we have, obviously, the trustee board, which has ultimate accountability for strategy, setting the strategy for the organisation. And they delegate that responsibility to formulate the strategy to a strategy committee. That takes in inputs both externally and then obviously internally. So you can see the links to the council and the strategy subgroup there, our governance boards and committees, our operational boards and committees, and then the wider volunteer network, and obviously the staff and the executive. So this is what we call the hub and spoke model. It is now a permanent thing that we've created, and that will be the driving force behind every time we will periodically update, probably every 3 years or so, we think, do a major review, and we're anticipating doing annual dip checks on that as we go forward, and then realigning our business plan to it. So this is something that is there for permanence. Don't know what that was. So hopefully now you can see the scale of the ambition that we're going after. The most important thing to remember, and I find myself saying this quite a lot, it doesn't all have to happen tomorrow. There is a pace at which this strategy can be achieved. But this is about long-term planning with course corrections along the way. Now, clearly, the resources that we have available dictate the pace at which we can implement the strategy. And also, therefore, the quantum of the impact that we can have on society. So clearly, our financial and commercial strategy plays a part in that, combined with our need to achieve a sustainable facilities footprint, including this building and those around it, and obviously then improving the effectiveness of our business systems and processes. All of that has a bearing on this. The force multiplier in this instance is our strategic collaborations with other organisations both in the UK and internationally. We will never achieve what we want if we do it alone. We must be strategic in our choices, fair enough, but we need to be selective about who we partner with. We need to have clear criteria, and we need to be open and honest and transparent about the selection methods that we use. As we move from strategy development into implementation, we must ensure that our strategy is bold and ambitious, but also realistic. And most importantly, as I've said already, that our business plans are aligned to it, our organisational design is aligned to it, because that's what really will then achieve the goals and objectives. So the next thing to do is decide whether to participate or not. And I suspect there might be some people thinking, well, you know, what's in it for me? So what I would say is to our members and employees, I want you really to be inquisitive about this. I want you to seek out more information. I want you to look at what we're publishing and really discuss it with your colleagues, with your friends, with fellow members, etc. Because ultimately the value to us is in the feedback. You know, this isn't something that we just want to publish and then is set in stone. That really is important, and we will constantly ensure that we evolve the strategy to adapt to our environment, because that changes all the time. So will you be bold and seek every opportunity to improve? To take this new direction and engage and enable, can I count on your support? Well, to be honest, based on what I've seen so far and what I hope I see in the future, I really think that I can. And for those that I'm yet to meet, I really am looking forward to meeting as many people as I can throughout my presidential year. And through that feedback, we will then get that back into the strategy, get that back into the working groups that we have, so that we evolve the strategy throughout the course of the rollout. So I ask everyone to basically think global, but also act local, and see what you can do, however great or small, to help your fellow technicians, engineers, or employees. To politicians and government officials at all levels around the planet, IMechE seeks to support you in key decisions that affect the engineering sector and society. We want politicians to make decisions based on sound technical advice. To industry and business, we are here to support you, not only to help and enable your technicians and engineers to be at their best, but also to work with you for mutual benefits in enhancing the engineering profession's voice. And finally, to education organisations, we want engineering to be given an increasingly higher prominence in curriculums. We want to ensure the right skills for society's future, and we want to ensure that those especially inspiring young people from diverse or disadvantaged backgrounds. I'm on dedications already, there you go. So, dedications. So some quick thank yous. To my parents, Jill and Edward, for your love, support, and your continual encouragement for me to do well. Thank you so much. To my wife, Sarah, and my two lovely children who are playing a starring role down here. So this is Clarence, who's 4, and Ruth, that's 7. For the fun we have, I love you so much. And to my close family and friends, for your companionship that fills my life, and to the trust that you place in me. I'd also like to thank my fellow trustees. We've got a wonderful team this year. Members of the strategy committee that you saw earlier, and the working groups to support it. Underneath it, the working groups, there's 3 working groups with dozens more people. It's really been a mammoth effort. Our council and the strategy subgroup, like I mentioned, but all of the volunteer members and employees that have supported the generation of this new strategy and its launch today, you know, really sincere thanks. I really believe that this is quite a singular example of collective participation, and we've had that feedback already. It actually took us quite a lot longer to do this than maybe most organisations would do, but the reason that it took so long was because of that engagement level that we felt was so valuable. So thank you. And obviously to all the members and employees that we've engaged with so far, your feedback and support, like I said, has been invaluable. So, on to the future. IMechE will thrive because of its membership, expertly enabled by our employees. We rely on you to deliver our mission of improving the world through engineering. But we want more. We really do want more. Because wanting more is about dreams, it's about aspirations, and it's about vision. Leadership and governance in the application of professional engineering standards, qualifications and accreditations have historically been what we're known for. It's been our strength, and we must maintain that position. But as you've heard, we're going to foster global communities in which members and employees work together in close partnership. Wherever they are, knowledge sharing, thought leadership, mentoring, and support should all be found through those communities. We will help our members develop professionally throughout their careers and beyond, and we offer support along that journey. We will engage more strategically with others, be they our fellow professional engineering institutions, many of whom are represented here tonight, corporate entities, or the political world. We are part of a wider engineering community, and by working together, collaborating and partnering in a way that harnesses our collective diversity, our members will be ready to solve society's problems. But for me, it's not so much about problem solving. Like we say that all the time about engineers and technicians, we're great problem solvers. For me, I'd really like to change that narrative and start talking about what technicians and engineers can do to innovate, not just because there's a problem to fix, but because they see an opportunity to be better. We must build a capability to effectively measure our influence on the perception, discourse, and decisions relating to engineering and its impact on society. Success for us is reaching far and wide. With a high level of engagement, we talk quite often about how it's quite easy to measure outputs. So if you take a report we publish, you know, how many people have read it, how many people have downloaded it, that's the easy part. What everyone wants and aspires to is being able to measure outcomes. Like, what was the outcome of that report? Who used it? What influence did it have on decision making? That is the holy grail of what all charities want, and that is what we're going to create. We're going to create the capability to do that. So, as a member put it to me recently, as it says there, we are going to redefine what a professional engineering institution is. I've got one final message. Technicians and engineers will change the world, like they've done since they ever existed. To our members all over the planet, there is one simple question to ask yourself. What do I want to be? And our message is simple. We want you to be the best technician or engineer you can be, and we are here to help and support you. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you very much. So we've got can you still hear me? Yeah, we're going to have a quick idea, right? We're going to take a photo quickly from up the front of the audience. If you don't want to have your photo taken, please tell us afterwards, but I'm working on the basis that people don't mind. But But let us know if that's not okay afterwards. So if you don't mind, do we have the photo anywhere? They're going to get the camera. Don't know whether we've got a camera. We're going to go with a phone. So, if you don't mind, could everyone stand up? Is that okay? If you can. You can go wide. That's all right. That's all right. Yeah. That's it. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
When everyone's ready,
Go wide angle.
you can look into how on that. One more, if that's okay.
How about a cheer? Go on. Hey!
This is a really lovely shot. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks. Yes, we can sit down. I'm going here.
Giles, thank you so much. And thank you to our audience. We didn't warn you there'd be audience participation, but thank you for joining in. Gosh, where to begin? Well, this is always my favourite bit of these events because we get to invite questions from the audience, and that's the audience in the room and the audience online. Giles, thank you. You know this because I say it all the time. But I really, really love the kind of elegant simplicity of the strategy, that we just really focus on two things: that internal action to develop and support our community, and then maximise their positive impact on society. But, you know, maybe that's where the simplicity will end, because now we'll get some harder questions from the audience. So what I'll do, I'll go to the room first, to our online community next, and then potentially back to the room, although I am slightly conscious of time too. So in the normal way, the immediate past CEO has put his hand up first. Colin, over to you.
Congratulations, Giles.
Thank you, Colin.
I'm jealous. Can you talk a bit more about strategic collaborations, though, Giles? Because you gave an example in policy and public engagement where I think we've done that very well recently, and it levers us into fields outside mechanical engineering. It works very well. My memory, though, is that ultimately we tend to be very insular in this organisation. And so if you said, well, let's do a strategic collaboration with another institution that's got a good IT system or something, because it's very expensive, that's difficult to do. What's the latest thinking on how you get strategic collaborations with people who you might have thought you didn't really want to work with in the first place, or members don't want to work with?
Yeah, thank you, Colin. That is really one of the big things in this strategy. So we know that we have a certain amount of resource, right, to be able to deliver what we want to deliver. And we know that if you want to deliver more than that, well, you either get more resource, which can be challenging, or you go and collaborate and partner. And that's really what the fundamentals that's about. And where we've done in the past, where we've done like memorandums of understanding with organisations, you might sign up to that, and there's a great photo op, etc. And then what's the benefit that comes from it? And I think really what this is about going forwards is about taking that much more strategic depth of partnership, but not just doing it in the UK, like I said, like doing it internationally. So you look at all the organisations in the UK that we partner with, whether it be the professional engineering institutions, the Engineering Council, Royal Academy, well, they're the equivalents of those all over the planet, as you well know. And we've got relationships with some of them, but for this going forwards, it's going to be about, okay, so what's the strategy around who we partner with and why, and where's the plan to then go and do it, and then put the resources behind making that happen, because that, for me, is what changes the game, that collaboration, so you get engineers being able to work much more easily across international boundaries than they can today. it's just too difficult, because you might get qualified in one country, you go to another country, and then you have to re-qualify. That's what it's really about to me. And so our international community is so key to that, because they are the ones that will be best placed to identify who those partners are. We're putting a framework in place for how we go about doing that, so there's a process to follow, etc. as well. That to me is what the difference going forward is going to be, Colin.
Thanks, Giles. And I think, it's a really, really good question, and I think we can do a lot. We can do a lot to collaborate on our internal efforts as well. That's within the institution, across the sector at large, and we're certainly hoping to take some great strides there too. Any further, I'm going to go down to the front here, and then I'll come to you, Terry.
Thank you very much. The question is, can you envisage any changes in the subject matter or discipline of engineering itself, apart from the widespread application of computers? Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I mean, it's changing so fast, and the pace of change, like I said, continues to increase. Yeah. No. I mean, one of the things that we have is, which I've been quite passionate in the past, is we've got a technical strategy board with a bunch of divisions and groups which specialise either in industry divisions or technological groups. And one of the things I felt for quite some time is that's been quite static for me. Like, I think that technology's moved on, and we are starting to see industries, whole industries being created around disciplines that didn't exist before. So we have to react to that. We have to be flexible to then say, okay, right, so that industry's popped up. What are we doing about supporting, engineers, technicians, etc., in that particular new discipline? Because I think we're actually looking at this at the moment. I think our qualifications and membership board are looking at it. If you ask the question, what is the definition of mechanical engineering? I suspect if we asked everyone in the room that question, you would get a different answer. It's such a broad church, and we talk about that all the time. So I think, yes, the answer is there will definitely be changes. We're seeing that accelerate, and we expect to have to react to that as an organisation.
Super, thanks, Giles. I'm going to come first to some questions that have come in online. There's some fantastic questions here. One, I'm going to take the prerogative of leading on because it's very close to my heart. The question is from Joseph Boreham, thank you very much. You talk about building inclusive, thriving communities. Does the IMechE have any plans to promote the benefits of part-time workers, to stop people having to choose between engineering and family? Have you ever seen a part-time professional engineering job advertised? I might come in with a bit afterwards too.
Yeah, of course. So absolutely. I mean, I think the way that the world of work is going now, certainly what I see is the flexibility that people want now going forwards is absolutely massive. The days of people starting a job and staying at that company for their entire lives are obviously gone a long time ago. But what we're actually seeing at the moment is it's got even crazier, because it's so easy to move now between jobs. And obviously that depends on economic conditions. But certainly in the UK at the moment, and other places internationally, it's always been effective for engineers to move across boundaries, etc. And I think the people's expectation of flexible working is so much more important now than it ever was. I mean, take me as an example, right? So I become president. I'm continuing my career at AWE. I'm planning on job sharing that in a way that works flexibly for both. And AWE have been really supportive in enabling that. And I think that just has to be the norm going forwards. Like, employers are going to have to evolve how they support their technicians and engineers to be able to get that work-life balance.
Absolutely. So I worked part-time or no time for 17 years, so I've got quite a lot to say, but I won't. I'll just think in the context of this institution, though, it's very interesting. We do talk a lot. We're very, very sincere in, the ambition to get more participation from the volunteer community across all all parts of the membership. And, we were reflecting just this morning, the way we're currently structured, you look at those boards and committees, it's a huge ask. And it's a huge ask in particular, I think, of engineers who might be relatively early in their careers and don't have the flexibility to take, 6 days out each year. So we need to think of it from, really from the bottom up. We need to think structurally, how do we organise ourselves which maximises the opportunity for participation from our member volunteers? And I think, I hope we're going to come back to you with some more steps there soon.
And I'd add one further thing about that, actually, because I've been really fortunate in being able to do what I do and have the support to be able to do it. But I know that there's a lot of people where, they just can't take the time off. They have, quite a lot of members will take annual leave to do IMechE activities. I don't know whether people realise that. Which is hard, right? You're giving up your time to volunteer for an organisation that you value. And for me, the only way out of that is to increase the pool of volunteers, right, so that people aren't overloading themselves. A lot of our volunteer members are so enthusiastic and so committed. They put hours and hours in every week. And, we just have to be careful with people, and people have to be careful with themselves. Because you then get into the situations of burnout, mental health issues, etc. So for me, it's about increasing that pool of talent so that people don't have to commit so much because they're only doing a little bit because there's more people involved. That for me is the way through that.
Fantastic. I'm going to take one more online and then come back to the room. Again, the question is from Jack Mason. You spoke about the link of content produced by the volunteering committees to host events, which will then be shared globally. I thought it was a really nice vision that you presented there. What do you envisage as the link between the volunteering area region communities with the IMechE staff and helping to develop those communities better as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. The thing for me is that that's where the value is. So when you get, there's lots of different ways into IMechE. You can come in, you can get involved technically based on your industry, like I was saying earlier, or your particular specialism within the sector, or you can get involved regionally based on, just collaborating and forming communities based on where you live or work. That's how I got involved in IMechE in the first place, through the regional network in London. And that for me is where the value is. So a lot of those communities will put on events, whether it be technical lectures or whether it be visits to academic institutions or industries or other exciting places. And for me, it's about capturing that value, because like I said, when you're at that event, you get the value at that point in time. But then outside of that time frame, that value disappears. And what we've got to do is create the capability for that value to be harnessed and then make that available on a much wider basis. Because ultimately, I think about it this way, anyone that, I was literally upstairs in the library earlier, talking to our staff there, anyone can go to a library or go online and, search for, an engineering, topic. And for me, the value that our library provides is actually, if you're doing a piece of research, you can go to them and you can say, I'm doing this research, and they can help you find the research, the right articles to go to, the right books to go to, etc. That's the value of librarians, right? And I think we've slightly forgotten that that's what librarians do. So I think that's really important. And then you take that step further and you go, actually, all of the expertise is up here in our members' heads. We are a membership organisation, and the value is in the members themselves. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us unique as an organisation. You access content from member to member that you can't get elsewhere. Obviously you could join another member organisation, and lots of our members do, because they want to get information from lots of different sources. But that for me is the value of why these organisations exist. So that's what we've got to go after.
Mm. It's really interesting, isn't it? You get into these existential sort of discussions about what makes us unique, what's our USP. And it's kind of blindingly obvious, isn't it? It's the 115,000 brains collectively together. That's what makes us unique. You don't get that anywhere else. Very good. We will come back for one more in the room. I see Rafe's got his hand up. I did sort of promise Terry. Yeah. Right, no, we'll go to Terry next time.
Hi, Rafe.
First of all, congratulations on becoming our president.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for that great presentation. I'm also grateful for the name check of QMB, and I can confirm we are looking at the definition of mechanical engineering. I'd also, though, pull you up on one thing. You did name check Joe and thanked the membership department for their effort at securing the membership. We have a team in the QMB of about 1,200 or so volunteers that are instrumental in enabling that activity. But that's not my question. So, what is your personal number one priority for this year? And when we sit here in a year's time and we hand over to Clive, what will be the measure of success that you will judge yourself on whether you've delivered that?
Yeah, so that's actually really easy for me because it's all about the strategy. For me, this year, there are lots of things that we have to focus on, but for me, it's about launching the strategy and engaging as widely as possible with it. If you look back over the last sort of couple of years and what we've been able to achieve, we've been going, so the whole strategy committee and everyone that supports it has been going almost one-to-one to boards and committees, volunteer communities, like as much as we can, right? But there's only so much you can do in that amount of time. And the feedback we got from that was really valuable that we fed back into the strategy, like to get to where we are today. But that's a fraction of the organisation, like of course. So for me, it's really easy. It's about getting to the end of the year, and the measurement of success is about how many people we engaged and the value we got from that feedback, and the fact that we actually did something about it. You know, we took the feedback on board and then we changed things. Like I've heard from people before, it's like, oh, you know, yeah, we gave you that feedback and you didn't do anything with it, right? So that for me is really important. So the measure of success is quite straightforward if you think about it. If the strategy that we're talking about today is exactly the same words at the end of the year, then we've failed. How about that?
It's leaving us on a knife edge, isn't it? Now, at this point in the proceedings, we like to invite a vote of thanks. And in this particular instance, we thought it would be really appropriate to invite Michael Sabodu, who is the chair of the Greater London Region Young Members Panel, to give the vote of thanks. Michael, would you like to join us?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I trust that we're all feeling well-informed and excited for the future. I know I am. My name is Michael Sabodu. I'm the chair of the Greater London Region Young Members Panel here at the IMechE. And I have the honour today of delivering a vote of thanks. We wouldn't be here without the hard work of our planning committee. I just want to say a thank you to our staff and volunteers for spending the time to make today a success. Giles, the young members of the Greater London Region and I would like to thank you for spending the time to speak with us at our general meeting a couple months ago. Giles took the time to speak with our young members, giving us insight into his life and his vision for the future of this institution. Giles' comments on digitization really spoke to me because, you know, moving with the times is not as simple as moving. I feel confident that we are moving in the right direction. I think being knowledgeable, sincere, and relatable are some of the things that young members look for to trust in a leader. Giles, thank you for showing us these qualities firsthand. I'd like to extend my genuine gratitude to everyone representing engineering in the UK. In engineering and in life, having a mentor or a role model, someone to emulate, provides many young engineers with a sense of direction, you know. Many of us don't know the impact that we actually have, that we may have from afar. Being an example to a young engineer is powerful. Sometimes validation or proof that you're on the right path is all an aspiring engineer needs to continue on their journey or work that much harder. With Giles as our president, I'm sure the IMechE will continue to serve this country and the world as a home for mechanical engineering. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to everyone here and those of you watching at home for your attention today. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, very much. And just because we have so many people in the room and online, I can't let the opportunity escape. I just want to give a quick shout out to a couple of events we have coming up. So we have Agile and Available, Engineering the Royal Navy in the 21st Century, and the Secret Horsepower Race, the Western Front Fighter Engine Development. One of those is coming up tomorrow. So that's the annual PEI Defence Lecture. It'll be presented by the Royal Navy. That's the Agile and Available. And slightly later on for our engineering buffs, on Tuesday the 20th of June, we've got the writer Callum Douglas, who's presenting his lecture on the Secret Horsepower Race. Slightly later on in the year, we've got the James Clayton lecture, so that's on Wednesday the 6th of September. That will be in the building and online, as per the others as well. So please, if you can make it along to that, that would be fantastic. The topic is the engineering response to heat and drought, and it will be delivered by Professor Toby Peters, the professor in Cold Economy, University of Birmingham, and co-director of the Centre for Sustainable Cooling. And of course, related to the James Clayton lecture is the James Clayton Prize. And I hope that many of you in the room and online will have already clocked the fact that applications are open for that award. It's really our most prestigious award. Prize funding is up to £10,000, and please don't hesitate to apply or nominate or draw it to the attention of one of your colleagues. Those applications are open until the 30th of June. Thank you very much. Now, I would welcome, at this point, I'm afraid we have to say goodbye to our online viewers, but for everyone else physically here in the building, I'm delighted to welcome you to drinks and a networking opportunity up in the library. But as the very last thing before we do that, I'd like us to thank Giles in the usual way. Thank you.